Hello. Okay, I'm changing the subject. I've been thinking a lot. I really badly want to put things behind me and carry on with my life. And I feel like for me to do that, I need to set the record straight on things. And you know why I do this a lot? I was noticing this the other day. Watching myself in videos, yes. I can see why actors never do that. The reason I do this all the time, and I do it all the time, I suck my lips in like that. It's not a very good picture. It's hard to tell from this picture, but this is me when I was little. See? I don't even know if that shows up. Okay, there. See, there's me. I was 3.5 years old. Anyway, when I was a little kid, my brother made fun of me because I had fat lips. I had very fat lips. I mean, I wasn't really disgustingly fat lips, but I had fat lips. You know, I had full lips. In fact, it's because of my lips that my dad, one of the reasons why my dad liked me, they apparently went to look at little babies at a foster home, and my dad, I guess, made the remark that he liked the fact that I had full lips, and he didn't like little thin lips and women with thin little lips. So my dad liked my full lips. But I was teased about it by my brother, and I was very self-conscious about it. So I started doing this a lot. You know, anytime that I wasn't talking, I was doing that with my lips as a little kid. And I didn't really notice that I did that as an adult until I started doing videos on YouTube, and I just noticed it's very common, very frequent that I'm doing that, and it's not very attractive. It really doesn't look good at all. So I've been trying to get myself out of the habit of doing that, but it's been in me. It's been part of how I you know, what my face does for 50 years. So I kind of get the whole Michael Jackson thing, you know. He finally divulged the fact that he did all that work on his nose because one of the reasons anyway was that his dad was always teasing him about having such a big nose, and it made him very self-conscious. And I kind of get that as far as just because I know that I was very self-conscious about my mouth, about my lips, and I know how that can follow somebody into adulthood. And people have no idea when they're talking to little kids and making fun. They have no idea how something like this, you think that's trivial, but that can really follow somebody their whole lives. Anyway. So on the subject of trying to get beyond, something that has really rankled deeply in me, and I don't think I'll ever really get beyond this, honestly. I just got done watching Sense and Sensibility, and I just love that movie. I love that movie. I love the fact that back then, I mean, who knows how true to life it is, but it just seems like people were kinder and more considerate and more polite to each other. And there's a scene where Mr. Farrows comes in and he's done something, but it's really not that bad. By he feels like he led somebody on, and he comes in and he apologizes, and it's just this. It's like, why do people not apologize anymore? Why is it wrong to apologize? Why is that something, I say I'm sorry when I know that I've done something to hurt somebody's feelings, or when I've done something to hurt somebody. I apologize. I feel bad. I don't like how I feel when I know that I've done something to hurt somebody. Whether or not it's intentional, I don't like how I feel when I know I've hurt somebody. And it just feels like in today's world, what is it? What is the big bad thing about apologizing and trying to make somebody feel a little better when you've hurt their feelings, or you've made you've caused damage for somebody? Anyway, back to what I'm trying to say, which I still haven't gotten to it yet. I was just struck by how open and sincere these characters are in this movie, and how, it'd be nice if the real world was a little bit more like that, and a little less everything. I mean, I'm self-serving. I am. I'm the same as everybody else. Everything is all about me. That's one of my big flaws. It's all about me. I have a real hard time realizing that other people have battles too. I'm working on it. I'm doing my best to work on that and to not be quite so self-centered. But at the same time, it hurts when I'm not the only one who has this problem. And what really bothers me is when I try to do something that isn't self-centered, that isn't all about me, that is for somebody else. I feel like, hey, look, I'm not all bad. I can put somebody else before me. I can care about somebody else, and even if it's an inconvenience for me, even if it means that I can't do everything I want to do anymore because I have this other person that I'm caring about. And yes, this comes back to the guy I took care of. I was in the kitchen this afternoon. I was washing silverware, and I was thinking about when this guy got better, and he was in my house still, and he wasn't hardly there because he got better, and as soon as he got well enough, he was pretty much never here. He was doing his own thing. He was hooking up with his old friends, and he was sick of me after living with me 3 years, and I'm pretty convinced that 90% of that time it wasn't something he wanted to do. It was because he had to, because he had no other options. He was living with me because he was ill, and he needed somebody to be there and to, if he had physical trouble, if he started having trouble, to call 911 or to call his friend and get help for him. Because if he lived by himself in his apartment and he was in the condition he was in while he was living with me, there would have been nobody to alert to get help for him. So I think he was living with me because and there were no other friends stepping forward to offer their homes. So, but then he got better. He started getting better. And I remember one day I think I wrote him a note, and I said something about, it'd be nice if you could do a little bit of housework. You live under my roof, and it'd be nice if you could help out. Maybe wash the dishes or something. And he wrote me back, and he said, "Oh, fine. I will wash the one dish that I use." And it just pissed me off. It's like, you lived with me how many years when you were so ill that you could not do anything except rest? And I did everything. I'd go shopping, and I'd bring home a carload of groceries, because when there's 2 people, you have to buy a lot of groceries. And, the option of going out to restaurants isn't there when somebody can't have sodium. You have to make everything, and you have to buy you have to make everything. So I was making everything. There were times when he would make a special effort. Early on, he would make a special effort, and he'd bring home some ingredients and fix something, and he was a very good cook. It was appreciated. But when he got really sick, he wasn't able to do that, and he wasn't able to help out around the house. And when I'd come home with groceries, I lived in an apartment back then, and there were stairs, and I had to haul these groceries up, and he'd just lay on the couch, and I'd forgive him for that because he was ill. It never even bothered me. I was happy to do it. I wanted to help him, and I wanted him to rest. I wanted him to feel better and get better. And I did these things, and I never complained. I cleaned my house. I cleaned around him. The times that he couldn't because he was too ill, and I'm sorry, but his laundry smelled. And he had it piled behind the sofa in my living room. And my living room, he didn't have his own bedroom back then. He had my living room. And I was trying to keep my place nice, because I was fighting depression, and as I've learned living here, the more difficulty I'm having with depression, the more my house is a complete disaster. So I was trying to keep my head above water and keeping my house clean. And also I wanted it to be nice for him. I didn't want him to have to be living in a pit, so I was keeping it clean. And it was a lot of work. When there's two people, there's more work to do. So when he got better and he wasn't around as much, it's like I always thought when he got better, I was doing things for him, like taking him out for breakfast, and basically just I was the one paying, because at that time he wasn't able to work. So I was the one paying. So I always had this silly idea that when he got better, there'd be a little, I don't know, he would want to do something nice for me sometimes, like take me to breakfast, or just start doing some things that he couldn't have done before because he was too ill. But when he got better, he was just not around anymore. The friendship that I thought I had with him, that I had come to truly value, and I used to look forward to coming home. And having what I called Tim time, because he was part of my life. Some people aren't even married as long as I lived with this man, or rather he lived with me. And when I entered into this whole thing, I was in love with him. And then he got sick, and I learned that he wasn't ever going to have feelings for me, but I had feelings for him, and he was sick, and I wanted to take care of him. I had just shown myself to be incapable of making my husband happy. I tried for 6 years to be the best wife I could be to Mark, and I wasn't good enough. And now I had somebody that I dearly cared for, that I thought was my friend, and I was going to be the best damn friend I could be. I was going to care for him. I was going to do everything I could do to help him. And the last 2 years was the worst, because the last 2 years, I knew he would never have feelings for me. He had no trouble telling me this after he'd lived with me for a year, and let me think for a year that he, or at least I thought he knew. I mean, the bar friend had told him that I was in love with him, and then he started staying with me 24/7. And I mean, immediately after, like the next day, he started staying with me 24/7. After finding out I was in love with him, what else am I going to think except that he had mutual interest? And then this goes on and on and on, but it doesn't go any further than that. There's never, we're like living together like we're roomies, even though he has his own apartment, and he could go to his own apartment after work, but he comes to my apartment. And then when he gets so sick that he can't work anymore, and then I move out here to my condo, and he pretty much has no choice but to move with me. I guess, he was really pretty much trapped in that situation. And I think he resented me because, I don't know. I don't know. He could have, my feeling is if he felt smothered, why didn't he go and live with some other friend? Why didn't, he could have gone and moved back home. His friend suggested at one point that we let his family know about it because it was taking such a toll on me. His friend, we were in the ER once, and his friend said that to me. He said, this is too much for you. We should call his family. But I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to lose this friend. I was working really hard, hoping to continue to have this friendship that I valued, even though it was like, well, I know he's never going to love me back, but it didn't matter. He was my confidant. He was somebody that gave me advice and seemed to care. And that mattered to me a lot. So, I got this attitude from his friends when he moved out, and then he started telling all his friends how I had smothered him. And what's funny is my idea what he calls smothering, I call trying to still be his friend. When he stopped, he actually said these words. He sat here at this desk, and I was over on the other side of the room. I don't remember what I was doing, but we were having this conversation. He was sitting right here in this chair, this exact chair, and he said, "Thanks, but I don't need you anymore." He said those words. I will never, ever forget those words. It hurt me so bad. "Thanks, but I don't need you anymore." And that's exactly how he treated me after that. It's like, and I just wanted to still be a friend somehow. You know, I understood that it wasn't going to be the same. I knew he eventually would move out and go on with his life. But before he came to live with me, he and his friend and I would go, we'd play Uno, or we'd go sing karaoke, or, you know, we did things. We hung out sometimes. It was casual. I was one of the guys. I got to be invited to the Cleveland Browns football games, you know, probably mostly because I was the one with the car. But it was great. I got to feel like one of the guys, and I got to feel, I just really loved being around these people. I loved being around these people so much. I didn't get to have a brother. I didn't get to have a dad. I trusted men more than women. And then he got his friends to think that I smothered him, and all I was trying to do was still have some kind of a friendship. But all of a sudden, everything that I did was wrong. And no matter how much I backed off, it wasn't enough for him. I resent the fact that he told his friends that I smothered him. I resent the fact that he sent the signal out to this bartender and other people that, you know, it just kind of, I'm pretty sure that it kind of sent the signal out that I'm okay to use. I'm okay to fuck over. Because how else can I explain that the bartender did what he did? After watching me take care of his friend for so long. You know, and it wasn't always nice. I'll never forget when I found out, I was at work and I found out that my mom had stage 4 cancer. And this is while he was still pretty ill. Actually, this was still while we were in my apartment, so he was still pretty ill. You know, and I remember coming home from work and I was just in this state of, I was stunned. And I didn't get along with my mom very well, but I did love my mom. And I was upset because I don't have a dad. This is my only parent. He was on the floor watching TV, and I sat on the couch, and I told him what I found out, and he didn't even turn his head to look at me. He continued to look at the TV. "Oh, I'm sorry." He didn't even get up and come over and put his arm around me or say anything. I finally had to ask him if I could have a hug, and then he like freaked out about it. It's like he thought I was asking him for sex. "Oh, we'll never go that way. We'll never do that." You know, it's like things like that happened all the time while he was living with me. And I should have known that that I was really very little, I mattered very little to him. But sometimes he would say things that would make me think that, it's like head games, big time. I remember one time I gave him a lighter. This is before he came to live with me. I gave him a lighter, and he had left it outside the theater on the back of a whatever, there was a garbage can with the cover, and he left it on the top, and we went to go watch the Cleveland Browns play in Seattle, and when we came back, the lighter was gone, and he was very upset. I found out about it, and I said something like, "It's just the lighter, I can get you another one," and he said, "Oh, but it was from you." You know, stuff like that he would say to me, and make me feel like I actually mattered to him. You know, and then he turned around and later on and treat me like, "What the hell do you think? What do you think?" You know, I got so tired of the head games that he played with me, and that's just a small example of the kind of head games we're talking about. I know, but there were so many clues. Like every single time my birthday would come around, and we're not talking a whole lot of them, maybe 2 or 3, because he only lived with me for 2 or 3 years. Well, he lived with me for 3. It might have been 2 birthdays, but, you know, I wanted to I wanted to go sing karaoke. I wanted to have a birthday party. I wanted him to be a part of it. He never wanted to be there for me. He never wanted to go sing karaoke. He'd go out to dinner with me. I took him to dinner, and that would be okay. Having me treat him to dinner was okay. But then when that's over and I want to go sing and I want to have something like a party and have my friends, I have people around me for my birthday. Oh, he can't. He doesn't feel up for it. Here, I tried so hard to make all his holidays special because I didn't know if they were going to be his last holidays. I tried to make what holidays he was having as warm and happy and bright as I could. I decorated my house to the hilt. Christmas music. I bought him presents, and I tried I wanted him to have happy Christmases and happy Thanksgivings. And I remember the first Christmas, and he woke up and there was a coffee table. My coffee table, I had put all these little presents, and I had put tinsel and stuff, so it looked really festive. So when he woke up, what he saw was this little, and I was hoping it would be cheerful and Christmassy. And he hadn't gotten me anything because he didn't expect me to do this. This was all a big surprise for him. And then like 2 days later, I guess he wasn't really too sick yet because he might have still been going to work at this point. 2 days later, he comes home and he had gotten, I'll never forget this, he had gotten an Aragorn figure, Aragorn like from Lord of the Rings, great big figure in a box. He had picked this up for me as a present, and I'll never forget, he walks into the living room, and I'm sitting on the couch, and he tosses this at me, like, here. Yeah, it was like, oh, I felt like he was almost mad at me when he threw this at me like, here. I felt like he was mad at me, and he felt obligated to buy me something. That's how I felt when he did that. Anyway, this is me putting things out there. I'm just trying, I guess what I'm trying to say is he really did things to me in the course of the time that he lived with me that didn't make me feel very, very appreciated or cared about, mess with my head. The time that I went and got him Rumple Mints and I got a flat tire and he didn't offer to ride with me to the Les Schwab. I was terrified to drive my car with his tire, but I didn't see any other way to get my car to get the tire. And he didn't even offer to come along with me in case I ran into trouble. And even though I had gotten my car into the mess because I went and got him, I ran this errand for him. I mean, just little things like that all the way through. It's like, why didn't I pay attention to the signals? Why didn't I get that he was just using me? I had my mom told me, my mother-in-law told me, my ex-husband at the time we were separated, he told me, and I defended this guy. Oh, no, he cares about me. And I really thought he did. At one point, I told him I didn't want to... I told him something, I don't remember what it was, it had to do with my brother and something that it brought out me fears that used to, oh, I know, it was yelling. When I used to get yelled at, it usually turned into hitting after that. And I told him something like that. Oh, well, no one will ever hurt you again. I mean, things like that he would say to me, and I really believed him. I really believed that this is somebody who cared, and he would never hurt me. And I really thought that helping him mattered to him, that it meant something to him. I really thought that what I did, that the friendship I gave, meant something to him, that he valued it and he valued me. He didn't value me. He has wanted me to disappear and cease to exist since he got better. Anyway, I need to put him behind me, and I want to put him behind me. You know, the hardest part is part of me will always love him. A a part of me will love him. You know why? I think I know why. Because if it wasn't for him and what he did, I would never have been able to say that I did something good with my life, that I did something meaningful with my life, that I made a difference for somebody with my life. He gave me that, even if it fucked my head over, even if it has proven to be a source, has hurt me in a whole bunch of different ways. I can say that now, and I couldn't have said that before. So in some bizarre way, I think I'll always feel something in my heart for him. But I need to move on. I need to understand this is not somebody that's ever going to see that he did anything wrong. This is not somebody who's ever going to say, well, you know, I did kind of manipulate and take advantage because of her feelings for me. I'm sorry, Diane, I guess I did do that. I mean, he's never apologized to me. He's never admitted that he did anything wrong. I'm the bad person. I'm the one that did everything wrong. I should have just known when he was better that, you know, I guess, but there wasn't a rule book. There wasn't a rule book on how to back away after the person you care for, who doesn't care much for you, isn't sick anymore. There's no rule book. So anyway, this has turned out to be colossally long. I hope that it's the last video and the last time I ever have to think about this man. But I was thinking about him today, washing the dishes. How I asked him to wash the dishes, and he said, fine, I'll wash the one dish that I use. You know, I think if I had been cared for by somebody and then I got better, I would be wanting to pitch in. I'd want to give a little back. But that's me. Anyway, I hope this helps me. I'd like to say in a year or two that it no longer hurts me to think about it. And I'm getting there, but sometimes I still remember. So, thanks for listening if you have. And hey, newsflash, word of advice to anybody who's depressed. Again, use good judgment. If somebody is treating you like they don't even know you're in the room, and then they find out from somebody that you're in love with them, and they immediately do an about face and start treating you completely different, that's a really big red flag. And don't just question it. Question it. Don't stifle out. Don't ignore the little voice inside that's telling you, hey, there's something that's not right here. Really listen to that little voice and question it. Don't waste your time. Don't look for things to give yourself hope. If somebody is giving you mixed messages, they're not. It's not a good thing. There's something wrong there. So anyway, thanks for listening if you have. Bye.